I hate doing interviews. Hello, Mum. So, here we are in the middle of London, where I've got my studio. We are doing some lovely interview questions for Drum and Bass Arena. And the first lovely interview question that they asked me was, I did an EP on True Players, and it was an 8-track EP, so it's kind of like a mini album, really. What I felt was that it was a bit one-dimensional, you know, like pretty much just dancehall, drum and bass. And so I wanted to do something else what sort of gave me an opportunity to just do something different, really. And then a DJ called Slimzy, who is on Rinse FM in London, started playing it in with this sort of UK garage. And basically it just turned into sort of like a big UK garage thing that was pretty much driven by the pirates and by the sort of kids. So we realised it was going well, and then in the end I signed it to Azuli, who are to do with Black Market Records, and they released it as a single. The reaction from the drum and bass scene, I think all of the heads, everybody like the DJs was all like, yeah, wicked, go on mate, do, you know, like sort of show a bit of versatility. I remember that Fabio and Groove Rider, they went to Cardiff, and you know, Groove Rider sometimes plays house music sets, and you know, I imagine Fabio does. They're both they're just music heads, aren't they, them two? And some kid was saying to Groove, fucking what's Zinc doing? He's a cunt, he's making all this fucking shitty UK garage. And Fabio had to stop Groove Rider from hitting the kid, because Groove was like, what, are you going to tell me I can't play house and Zinc can't make breaks, yeah? Like, started freaking out on the kid. And you know how Groove does. Not exactly subtle. Hello Groove, you alright mate? Music naturally goes, you know, drum and bass follows its own path. And if we all looked at the hip hop world and said, right, so Ronnie's going to be Pharrell, and you know, Groove Rider's going to be Funk Flex, and blah blah, you know, like, and we try to emulate what they're doing. I don't think it'd work. I think the reason that drum and bass works is because it's just a natural thing and people do what they're feeling. There's certain things that can be learnt from other scenes, definitely, but I mean, if you're looking at hip hop, it's like so much of it's really sort of commercial. I wouldn't really want drum and bass to go that way, personally. Every time I try and close my eyes, I did used to use more hip hop vocals, and I do now record more vocals live, and that wasn't like a conscious thing. It was just, it's like when I started off, my studio was a £200 mixer, an Atari, and an Akai S950, and that had 30 seconds of sample time in it, and that was it. I didn't have a mic or a compressor or nothing, or a studio to record in, so it was hard to record vocals. When I did that Faster album, I recorded a load of vocals, and I really enjoyed the process of recording vocals. It's quite after using like MIDI and doing stuff a certain way for years, I've never really recorded it or used any live instruments, so it was interesting to do that. It's sort of harder to tame. Yeah, so recently, I'm interested in doing vocal stuff. You know, the stuff with Jenna, stuff with X-Man. You know, I did a tune with Slaughter John. I've enjoyed actually creating new stuff rather than using other people's things. I like to use samples in the studio, but for vocals, I think I'm starting to get more into a thing of actually doing them original. Basically, the story with Jenna is that I kept seeing Jenna like out and about in clubs, and I'd say to her, like, have you done any new music? You know, like I was just on her case to get some new vocal stuff, because I love playing tunes with, you know, real vocals in them. And she was like, nah, but what I'd like to do is to sort of do a drum and bass album. And I'd be like, and so I said, oh, wicked, yeah, like let me know when you start it and I'll send you some instrumentals and see if if I can put anything on your album. So she's like, oh yeah, cool. Then I see her a couple of months later, and I said, oh, how you doing, Jen? Like, what's happening? She's like, I want to do a drum and bass album. And I was like, right, yeah, well, when you want to do it, let me know and I'll give you a couple of tunes. So she's like, right, yeah, cool. I see her a couple of months later, and I'm like, oh, so what's happening, Jen? She's like, yeah, I want to do a drum and bass album. It's like, right, okay. So I was like, look, it's not that easy a thing to put together, and she's busy doing all like hundreds of different things at once, you know. So I was like, I'd love to be involved and to actually release the album. You know, I'll do it as best as I can. And so Jenna agreed to it, and I had to give her a hypnol first, and then I got the contract out and said, right, so no, she agreed to it. And so far, you know, a load of people have done tracks. Artificial Intelligence, TC1 Stress Level, Deep Ridge, DK, Friction's working on something, Comics, New Tone, Logistics, me. Who else is there? Chasing Status has done a wicked one. She's going to be doing some live dates later in the year. And so far we've done quite a few where I'll be DJing and she comes and sings. She'll do like 5 tracks live. When I say live, I mean we'll just play an instrumental. She'll sing live, so the vocals are 100% live, the rest is 100% not. And but maybe we're going to change that for the later in the year. We'll see. The thing with the drive-by car tune, I had a day booked in a studio in the West End. There was a few people come down just to do me specials, and I said to X, you know, if you've got like an hour or two free, can you come down there and just do us a special? And he was like, yeah, of course. Came down there, smacked it, I'd done it, and then so many people was like, when's that tune coming out? And I was like, oh, it's not, it's just a special. But so many, you know, like my agent was saying, I've had 4 people this week ask me when that tune's, can you just, like I'm your agent, not your fucking PR person, can you either release it or not? And like fucking, you know, we had all different people asking, so in the end we was like, all right, we'll put it out.
Not in Portugal, not in Africa, not in anywhere. You meet such lovely girls as we are. Only in Portugal.
He's a Brazilian DJ, and he came from Brazil and DJ'd in England, drum and bass. And
São Paulo, Rio.
Yeah, he comes from São Paulo. And
power city, powerful city,
yeah,
very powerful.
And his DJ skills are amazing. So everybody in England was like, wow, who's this guy? Who's come from another country, scratching
and
he doesn't like playing football, you know, football, but he plays the scratches.
Yeah, really good. She knows.
Flowing.
And you're picking for the
I asked him to mix the last mix he did. I asked Mark to do it, and he did it, and it's wicked, and it's just come out. It's very good.
That's brilliant for you.
Thank you.
Really wicked.
I know. I'm very happy about it.
Yeah.
Yes, madam.
Who is Mood, the second swing?
Oh, Mood to Swing. Who are they? Mood to Swing are a US-based house act. Like on Bingo, like we put out drum and bass, and breaks, and house as well. We do all different stuff. And Mood to Swing are a house act. And the first house record that I released on my label was by Mood to Swing. I want to have a record label that's unlimited. You know, like, because a lot of record labels, they release only drum and bass, or only house, or only this, or only that, but I want to be able to just release music. If I like it, I release it. Here we are. This is what I do. Obviously, Fridays and Saturdays, you know, I DJ in clubs and that, and then in the evenings I make tunes and that. But during the week, usually, I work in this Inglorious training shop there in Brick Lane. We do very small trainers, and also, thanks, able assistant. You know, also we do very big trainers. Glorious, Brick Lane, right? Next question. Personally, I think that the way, like when I started making tunes, it was not easy to get in the studio and make a tune, and now all you need is a PC. So it's cool that now anybody can make a tune, but the downside with that is that anybody can make a tune. And so, you know, there's a lot of whereas I used to get, you know, 10 demos a week, now I'll get like 30 or 40, and it's still only 1 or 2 that are good. So I think, you know, a downside of the way drum and bass has gone is that there's a lot more music around that maybe shouldn't be released, you know, and some people are like making tunes, and if a big label don't pick it up, they're like, right, fuck it, I'll put it out myself, and then they'll sell 500 or 1,000, and it's like, that's kind of watering down things. Yeah, the way the music's gone, I mean, I don't really like the way that everything is very compressed and maximised, and it seems to be a little bit soulless. But then, you know, people like Calibre and D-Bridge are the remedy for that. Those two are sort of, for me, the most sort of inspirational producers. I think the music, like drum and bass, is always going to follow its own path, and that is always going to be right. There isn't, you know, there is no sort of, if I was to stand there and say, oh, I wish it had gone more fucking jazz influenced, or I wish it had gone more like this, I don't think that's, I think that it goes the way, you know, that that it's just a natural path. One of the beauties of drum and bass is that nearly all of the music that's released and available in the shops is on record labels that's owned by us lot who love it. And so it's not some number cruncher going, right, how are we going to make 50 grand? It's someone going, oh, that tune's running, and that's it.
Tower to Captain Rocket Ship Star Polaris. You've been cleared for takeoff. Roger, all set, Tower. 8, X7, X6, X5, X4, X3, X2, X1. Fire!
Yeah, I think when someone like you know, when Optical came into the scene, it kicked everybody up the arse because he's a fucking bad boy producer. And then when Pendulum came along, it kicked everybody up the arse again. It's like when Marky came along, DJing wise, you know, everybody was like, fucking hell. You know, like when I first went to Brazil, this is before Marky had ever played in England, he was DJing before me, and normally when you go to another country, the DJ that's on before you, you know, like a lot of the time they're really good at mixing, or, you know, and they've got good tunes, but normally I think at least I've got a few tunes that I'll be able to play that they haven't got or whatever. But I was standing there thinking, fuck, man, you know. And he was killing it. And I mean, if you want to see something, go to Brazil and watch Marky. You know, like them people. He's like a football star. You know, like I've been there and he's been in a few different newspapers on the same day. And it's the same with Pendulum. They've come in and the production is such good quality. A few people, you know, like I know that I've listened to their stuff and thought this is really fucking well produced. You know, it keeps the old gits on their toes when there's new people coming along. I think that a lot of people I see, you know, like I've heard them talking, or I've seen people comment that the drum and bass scene kind of locks it down and doesn't let anybody new in, but that's like the opposite. You know, like Pendulum come along, they make wicked tunes, they're in, they're like voted #1 producer or whatever. You know, like they're in straight away. Groove Rider ain't phoning people up going, boy, these Pendulum boys, you know what, we've got to look. You know, like it's you know, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. Everybody's phoning Pendulum going, oh, have you got any beats I can play? So I think that if people complain about the scene is hard to get into, it's a natural thing. It's not you know, it's not like pop music where you can be branded as being really cool and you don't have to have any substance. You know, like if you're really good, you know, you'll succeed. You know, people probably think what a cunt he is for saying that, but cameraman says it's true, so it's bloody true. If you've got a problem with it, you talk to him, not me. It wasn't even my idea, it was his idea. He's holding up. Yeah, it's on my auto cue. This is Alex from Drum and Bass Arena. Have you ever wondered who is Alex Arena?
Hear me now.
It's just so the wrong thing to say, Alex. Oh well, you can tell.
DJ Zinc in Party Club drum and bass this night.
Yeah.
It was the best warm-up ever. Really. No, really.
So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the CD. I hope there ain't no clanging. And maybe you can watch the DVD with the sound turned down and the CD turned up. The whole thing of this DVD is that if you play the DVD at the same time as the CD, it all syncs up. But I didn't want to say that till the end of the DVD. But yeah, so if you do that, try that now, and then right at the end, see how it is, and then you see if there's a bit with if X-Man's chatting on a certain thing, you'll see that my mouth is actually talking, and I'll be talking about fucking nonsense, while X-Man's actually chatting about, lyrics and stuff.
Hi, this is Calyx.
Hi, this is Teebee. You're listening to Drum and Bass Arena. Hello, this is Teebee. I'm with Calyx in his studio in London, and this is part 1 of our studio tips, pretty much.
Okay, this is like a general overview of my setup. Basically, I'm running on a G4, Mac G4, running Logic. And then I'm running all of my sound from the Mac out of this Motu 896. The Motu's, it's a sort of quality audio interface, and then I run all my sound out of that and then into this Soundtracks desk. So I've got 10 outputs coming from the Motu. Outputs 1 and 2 with all my beats running in here into the desk. I'll have them panned to the center. On those 2 channels, I'll use one channel that I'm specifically looking to EQ the sub, the low end, and maybe low mids, and then the other one I'm looking purely for the sort of mids to tops frequencies. But the sort of main thing I use it for is clipping the gains, because I really like the sound of the sort of natural compression you can get from clipping analog gains. But every desk, depending on its circuitry, is going to have a different sort of sound on how they clip. Okay, well, my musical background is when I was young I learnt several musical instruments. So I learnt guitar and piano since I was 6. Before drum and bass came along, I was playing in quite a few jazz and jazz funk bands, and basically that's what I'd set my sights on, was being a jazz guitarist.
I started off breakdancing when I was really young, and bought my first ever sort of 7-inch when I was like 7, or I was 7 actually. I come from it from a different perspective, and I've applied my own rules, like especially when learning my equipment. I had no one around, nothing. It was all me. I even threw the manuals away because they didn't make sense to me in the first place, rather than like wasting my entire life on learning how to play piano like a ninja. You know what I mean? When I'd rather make bass like a ninja.
I've got 2 Alesis MIDI Verb 4s. I tend to use the sort of effects I can get off those in Logic now, but with my bass tops channel, but not my bottoms channel, and with my stereo outs, sometimes I'll add just a little bit of chorus, really subtly, but just gives a little bit of width, especially as I run my bass completely in mono. Here's a Focusrite Green, which is like really nice EQ, I still use once in a while. And then here's 2 compressors, which actually are very, very rarely used. I'm actually not a really big fan of compression, because you tend to squeeze the dynamics out of a tune. My sort of alternative to compression is clipping the analog gains, because you get a very similar effect. In terms of my monitors, I've got Dynaudio BM15s, which I really, really like. That's the Lord, our dear Lord.
Yeah, I'll get in there as well.
That's the Lord Gianfranco Zola. Gives me inspiration. The other aspects of my monitoring is this JBL sub. If you have a sub on all the time, sometimes it can sort of deceive you into thinking that there's loads of sub. But then when I'm nearing the end of the mix, just one thing I'll do is I'll turn off the monitors. I'll have the sub turned on. I'll have my track, let's say, running up into this second yellow light here, and I'll have the other track that I'm cross-referencing with running at exactly the same level. And with this sub, what it's got is it's got a sort of sweepable cut-off filter. And then as I sweep down towards 50 hertz, I'll hear the snare, and then the weight in the snare vanish. And then I've got the kick and the sub. And then as I go down, I'll hear the weight in the kick vanish until I'm just down to the pure sub at the bottom. I'll be cross-referencing, let's say with, let's say an optical track or something, and I'll flick between the 2. And I'll hear the sort of weight and punch in his kick, and where that's sitting and where it is in mine, and where the weight in his snare is, and how much weight there is in his and how much there is in mine. It's just a good way of judging sort of the lower end and lower mid aspects of your mix. What point did you reach? Drum and bass. Drum and bass. So just going to talk about how we wrote Follow the Leader. You got a problem with that?
No.
Which started off with just a loop.
Always the break first. Crucial. Always the break first. Remember that.
And we'll get in a whole selection of breaks, a load of breaks. There'll be a handful of breaks that are like sort of contenders for the main sort of dominant break. And then there'll be other breaks that have sort of, let's say, percussive elements or shakers or cymbals or shuffles.
In drum and bass is probably the main part is the bass line, obviously. If you've got like a really thick sound with loads of sub in it, a decent bit of mid and a little bit of tops, we'll take that sound, maybe split it into three different samplers in Logic or whatever, and we'll EQ the separate part differently.
Years ago when I was making tracks, I actually used to start out with the musical elements. But I find I write much better bass lines or sort of, mid-range things, bass things, when I actually start with that before I've stuck the musical elements in.
And yeah, that's pretty much how we do our bass. It's like a never-ending process of just processing each individual layer of every sound we find until we're happy about it. Once we've got that done,
Okay, here's some other bits and bobs I use for processing sound. As obviously I've been a guitarist for years, I've got loads of guitar effects. Here's just a few of them. And they're really good things to collect, things you can get cheaply. These two things I really recommend highly. They're excellent. There's the bass pod and that's the guitar pod, but they're actually both great for all sorts of sounds. And they've got sort of lots of real-time things, so I'll just record a loop over and over again and then pick out bits that I like. Where we got our sounds from, all over the shop really. I'll even sit on Sky with a DAT machine running and just flick through channels and look for bits and bobs. And also, obviously, sort of lots of crate digging, old vinyl, that sort of thing.
I just love my old EMU samplers too much, and I have a couple of sims like the Axis C Virus and the Nord lead. I'll roughly make a sound in either the Virus or the Nord lead, and I'll dump it in the EMU, and I'll use something quite unique for that particular model of EMUs, the Z-plane filters or Z filters, whatever you want to call them, but they're just really powerful filters that can just turn a sound inside out.
I use a whole load of soft synths, but I just generally use them to sort of create the starting sounds.
But in the first place, like if a sound is really shit, leave it alone. There's no way you're going to polish it. I like to visualize sounds, even though how nerdy that does sound. Like we just love really sort of deep soundscapes, and we'll add a hook to that, and we'll add melody, but it's individual how you wanna build up a track. But with drum and bass, it's become pretty formula, I must admit. So we all know we need a little intro, whatever, how many bars you like, little breakdown, drop, here we go. Little breakdown, 3 minutes, another drop, you're done.
Yeah, I mean, I've been releasing drum and bass for, 7.5 years now, but I basically always put off doing an album because I just always felt, I'm my own sort of worst critic, and I've always felt that my tunes and my sound has always been evolving. I just wanted to, kind of establish a bit more history and profile and my sound and what I was about before I started doing an album. But partly as well because I actually had thought I wanted there to be, good demand when I did a sort of first album, but the irony is if I'd done the album 5 years ago, I would have sold 10 times as many because vinyl is dying.
Me and Larry is eventually going to do a label. For my label with Subtitles, the ethic of the label was to have, since there's two sides on the 12-inch, to one sort of like track where they could do whatever they wanted to, and one track that would kind of sell the 12-inch. I look at the last sort of releases and it's like dance floor, but hey, they're good tunes.
I'm starting a label with Control at the moment. It's obviously got a slightly different agenda to Teebee's in that in many ways Teebee started out not as a vehicle for him and Kay, but like as a good output and outlet for their music. And it'll be the same starting a label with Teebee really. You just want to have a nice outlet and something where we can like create a sound and an identity for what we're about really.
Well, the Legacy album, that was out 2 weeks ago on CD, so go get it. I had about 4 or 5 tracks laying around that hadn't been released that were pretty decent tracks, you know. The Legacy is pretty much a dance floor album. It's not a bad thing at all. I'm not grumpy. I'm one of the least negative persons in this scene you'll ever find. But lately we've put limits on ourselves. You know what I mean? So I mean, I must admit, when I do a tune, my creativity is already blocked off into like brackets, where I know that I might be working on something and I'll be going, you know what, I can't do that because people are just not going to get it when they're in a dance, you know what I mean? Which I, as a producer or a musician even, if I can call myself that, finds extremely frustrating. But I really miss that sort of big, emotional, I don't know, dramatic part of what drum and bass used to, why drum and bass grabbed me in the first place, you know? Maybe people stopped doing drugs. He hates me. I have this ethic, basically, that I'm not going to give away.
What's that?
No, I'm not. I just got lost.
You don't have an ethic? Okay, yeah.
Outrage on Drum Bass TV.
This is Bailey representing Metalheadz.
This is you Turkey. This is Goldie for Drum and Bass, whatever it is.
This is DJ Storm representing Metalheadz on Drum and Bass Arena. I have to say that every track at Metalheadz is a Metalheadz moment, and it's been a very hard choice. Beach Drifter from Roughage Crew. Because I don't really think anybody expected Goldie to make that kind of track, especially as Roughage Crew. Okay, as Goldie and Metalheadz, he makes those kind of tracks, but Roughage Crew is normally the harder side of Goldie. And I think it was a big surprise. And I think, again, Goldie can just rip out your emotions, just the king of the pad and the king of the chord, and that for me was just awesome when I heard it. So that's a favourite of mine.
First one for me is probably Stone Killer by Source RX, which for me was a big tune, you know. Just the fact it was so different, and you know, for Metalheadz to put that tune out and make it stand and say, you know, I think it made a big impact on the scene. Whether people agreed with it or not, it was just different to what was out there at the time.
First tune, Adam F. Metropolis. Big tune, man. When that came on back in the days of Blue Note, man, which is actually just around the corner from here, that was the first time anyone had used that kind of real atmospheric sound in the Metalheadz track, man. It was like you're surrounded in this like big kind of like really trancey kind of sound, and it was real futuristic, man, when that came forward, man. Adam F played that. When Adam F drew that tune, that was like, yeah, this is something different, especially considering at that time he was making a lot of jazzy stuff. Wasn't expecting that from him at all, man.
Drumstock Scott, an absolute killer. It's ridiculous. When he mixed it down, he never had a desk to do it. He just did it, and he's got the most outrageous EQ on it. And the point of still being one of the hardest track records to mix. It's all over the place. Because the vocal speeds up and slows down in the middle with the drums, and it's just like, where the fuck, hello, and you're waiting for it to just collide into a car crash, or pure heaven. I think it's just it's a poignant track because it's just completely b-boy flavour.
Next one, Angels Fell by Dillinger. Just again, I think, because that to me is one of the most pivotal tracks for Dillinger. I think there was kind of slightly a new sound emerging from Dillinger at that point, and I think Angels Fell just typified all those new sounds that he was dealing with at the time. And I think, again, it was a very technical track and a very big track, but it had that beauty that Dillinger can cross, you know, kind of rough with the smooth. And I think that one for me stands completely the test of time. That whole EP, but that one in particular.
Angels Fell by Dillinger, strictly because it's the sheer darkness of the tune. I just loved the intro and the way it dropped and how heavy it was. You know, with Dillinger's B-line, the tune was just came together nicely with those atmospheres and that.
Angels Fell, I guess, because it was a poignant track for Dillinger, and it was something that I'd always loved Blade Runner, that whole kind of vibe. And just the way he just took that vocal. And also because before that, I think, was Manslaughter made before? Yeah. I'd made a track called Manslaughter that was unreinforced, which was sampling from the same film. Haha, publishing, get me. And I think I'd always been spooked out by that. And to hear someone take something else from another angle from that film was kind of what I really loved.
Dillinger, Armour D, is that right? Is it Armour D? Nice one, Chris. Armour D, man. That is just, the beats in that are so hard. Like, it's like concrete, man. Sounds like a guy walking around with big concrete shoes on, you know what I mean? It's like, it fully encompasses the Metalheadz sound, you know what I mean? For that era, you know what I mean? That was on the Platinum Breaks Volume 1 album. That's the best tune on there, man. Like, it had all Dillinger's classic warped bass sounds on it. It was just out there, man.
Bit of an obvious one for me, but it was Pulp Fiction. Again, the tune was just so different, and just the bass line on that tune was just unbelievable. First time I heard it, I can't remember what it was, but I was in a club, and it just blew me away. The bass line, it just blew me away. And again, so different to what was going on at the time.
Swing Time from Hidden Agenda. Just because I think Metalheadz really kind of put Hidden Agenda on the map, and they were something very different than anybody heard, coming from a kind of soul funk kind of vibe, northern soul kind of links. So I think for Metalheadz to have picked up on that, I think was very clever for a start, and I think everybody was very shocked by maybe Hidden Agenda coming out on Metalheadz, but that I think once again showed Metalheadz diversity, and that Metalheadz have never been afraid. If Goldie likes something and he believes in it and he hears potential, then he's not afraid to put his label's name behind it.
Source Direct's remix of Dark Metal has to be one of the best remixes done of one of my own tunes, because it was all about the 64 bar drop in the back with the Mentasm, which was like ridiculous. It's just like, where the fuck is this going? And it was such an area of where dark was. It was a really beautiful kind of way they did that.
Cryptic Minds and Leon Switch, you know? Yeah? Hide the Tears. Up until that point when that tune came out, because like, you know, the Metalheadz label went quiet for a little while. And we was coming back with a lot of good tunes, and it was that particular tune where I said, yeah, that's the Metalheadz sound, but it's like the new 2005 look, you know what I mean? Updating. It was absolutely just they made it perfectly, man. Everything that Metalheadz should be in 2005 for me is in that tune. It was too dark for some people, but I was just like, you know, my attitude is you've got to hear that tune, and I just played it as well, okay.
Waxed, which has brought it right up to date with DK and Lee. I mean, I would have gone for a Wax Doctor track, but I think that one just bringing it up to date, that Metalheadz is out there still doing something pretty exceptional. And I think if you're a lover of Wax Doctor, which I truly, truly was, and I mourned the day that he left this scene, really, because I felt maybe he wasn't respected as much as he should have done, should have been. And I think now, when you have all this kind of new musical kind of stuff going on, it would have been nice to see Wax Doctor to be a part of it. But he's still alive, courtesy of DK and Lee.
This one wasn't actually on Metalheadz, it was on London Records FFRR, but it was the Flip to Inner City Life remix that Pesho done. It was called Sea of Tears by Goldie. Strictly because the emotions behind that tune, it's just a really emotional track. It's just, again, it was just so different to anything I've ever heard, and still to this day, I haven't heard a drum bass tune like it.
Future Cut, Obsession. When I first heard that, I thought it was Goldie as well, but you can tell it's, you know, very influenced by the Goldie sound. Typical kind of like real kind of sparse breaks with like old school Metalhead samples on it. I can't really describe it, man, but it's just definitely one of the best ones. Because I didn't hear that many people playing it that much, you know what I mean? I think it was the right speed, but the pace of the track probably didn't sound as hype as the tunes that were around at that time. So maybe people just thought, oh well, you know, it might slow the crowd down a bit. We won't bother, you know, playing that one. Yeah. Which is a shame, man, because it's a bad tune, man.
Why this goes, because obviously for me, there's a big story behind that, which people don't really realise. It was like I was doing copious amounts of drugs. It was a point where I was really doing a lot of mad things, and I remember doing it in a place called Maida Vale, and I was doing Ghost the Original. I always remember doing a sweep by on the desk, and I just did a mute, and I muted certain things and just let it run. I forgot that I did it because I had a tape of Chemistry at the same time, and I had Ghost Original, the whole thing, and I remember playing the DAT And I remember being at home and I found this other version, which was the Rider's Ghost, which was a VIP that I gave to Groove, and I completely forgot that this was on there. And I remember being at Roast, and it was when it was at Charing Cross Road, it was a breakfast club or something like that. Yeah. I remember Ryder playing it there, and I said, "What the fuck is this?" Because it was like, "Oh, it's another version." And I'm like, "What the fuck is this? This isn't the one I gave him." And it completely freaked me out. And he said, "Because I gave him the DAT, and there's 3 things on there, but there was no ID on this particular track, and he just randomly found it on the fucking DAT."
Yeah, another track I'm going to mention, not because it's one of my favourite tunes on Metalheadz, but just because it was special for me, was my track Patience, strictly for the fact that it got me signed to Metalheadz. And to me that was a big part of my career, and that tune will always be important to me.
Then Your Sound by J Magic. I just think because, you know, J Magic was Goldie's kind of wonderkind, and, you know, he kind of discovered him, and I think Your Sound was just one of the most perfect executions of the aim and break ever.
Digital Niagara has to be. Because you play it now and it's so slow, but it sounds so fat, the beats of it.
The thing you gotta understand is with the Metalheadz back catalogue, yeah, it's like a diary, you know what I mean? You pick out a tune and it reminds you of a certain like time and where you was and who you was with and what happened around you in the club or whatever. That's why I have to cuss people when they sell their records, you know, and like, you're selling your diary, you know what I mean?
You're watching Outrage on Drum Bass TV.
This is Bailey representing Metalheadz.
This is you, Turkey. This is Goldie for Drum and Bass, whatever it is.
This is DJ Storm representing Metalheadz on Drum and Bass Arena.
Buying my first Metalheadz tune and then just getting sucked into the atmosphere, you know, the whole deep Metalheadz sound really from that day.
In terms of who I am musically, it means everything because, as I mentioned earlier, it's at the centre of everything I play. I like stuff that is like got strong beats, but it's got a good element of soul behind it as well. You know what I mean? I don't like that weak, wishy-washy business. You know what I mean? I like it strong and solid, man. And I like pads, I like emotions, and a lot of the music in it across Metalheadz catalogue. You know, it's all there. You know?
Organically, it's just progressed like that because I've just gone up on kind of a cross between really hard house sounds and really emotional kind of pads and strings and arrangements, so I've kind of welded that together.
The only thing you have to say about Metalheadz is about innovation and pushing the boundaries forwards, and I think that is still true today. I've said for a while recently, Metalheadz have never had to categorise what their sound is. You know, we haven't said, let's go and make Liquid Heads or let's go and make this Heads, you know? It's Metalheadz, and the music speaks for itself.
It's not one individual sound anymore. Labels tend to stick into one kind of group. And there is a head sound, but that head sound in its own way is a wider sound, it's a wider spectrum.
Goldie coming to the scene and being turned on by these other people, that was the excitement for me, and him making a label for the people that turned him on was an exciting thing to get involved in. It was just ridiculous how many artists wanted to be the next release, you know what I mean? And that was exciting.
If I decide not to make music, then I just stop doing it, I don't make music. You know, I've not made an album for 6 years. I just find it, so when I decide to do something, I just kind of go and do it. And I think what people seem to they forget with this music, is that there's a magic element that when you look back on it, and I look at the box set and I look at the way that you can pull people together. Never having family, trying to create that initial, that superficial family, that you try and pull people in, you can inspire people.
I just think Metalheadz has kept it real since the beginning. I don't think they haven't followed in trends. But, you know, they haven't like jumped on a particular sound to try and follow anybody else. They've just kept it Metalheadz, you know.
I didn't fucking give a fuck what I was doing back in the day. As long as I had my drugs and my rock and roll, my fucking easy and whatever else, I was fucking out there, mate. I was just going, come on, let's fucking have it.
It's like a huge tree of inspiration, man. I mean, even now down at Herbal, the amount of producers and people that come down and will hear something and then go home, get straight in the studio and try and put their little twist on it, you know what I mean? It just keeps growing like that, and that's what I like about it, man.
With all of that luck of being in that place and everything else working, and back in the old flat and where he was, I think it's just worked out really, really beautifully to look back on it as where we've been with it. And I just think it can be done again. It's not just about being the biggest and the most powerful in that sense, it's about being the heartiest, or having the most spirited, or to have an effect.
Like I said earlier, I like strong beats, man. For me, as long as it's got that and a sense of experimentation within the music, and it's worthy of going on the Metalheadz label. A lot of labels are, kind of scared to do that, man. They think the sales are gonna drop in that, but like that's what people want. I thought that's what drum and bass was about in the day, like.
It was the perfect gaff for a start. You go downstairs, you open the fucking doors, and the fucking steam would just come out the fucking doors. So it was just like a feeling that every week I go and I was completely excited.
You saw a difference in the DJs as well, because everybody had that friendly rivalry. We were all excited about who was going to play, and we wanted to hear each other. There was no, I'm coming in 5 minutes before because I don't want to hear the DJ playing the tunes that I want to play, right? We just were there. And if somebody played that really weird little obscure track of the night, that was maybe the most exciting thing. And still today, coming right up to Herbal, those kids want the same thing.
And I think the DJs, more than anything, were more under pressure because it was so up close and personal. It's like they're there and you're here. You know what I mean?
First club I never played in as a DJ where the people could just touch you. You know what I mean? And that was, you were there under pressure, and you had all your train spotters around you with their little balls, all their heads spinning around to look at their label.
I think it brought a lot of culture out between people that were like, working at computer generated places, and people wearing sneakers, and a lawyer standing next to a homeboy, and a homeboy standing next to a dread, and a dread, standing next to a punk. It was very much a guy in a wheelchair. It was an unbelievable fucking vibe to have that.
I only got to experience Blue Note once. Didn't know what was going on, mate. I was in there, like all these tunes I'd never even heard, and it was like, wow.
We never had a hierarchy. You could play first, second, or last set, right? There was no, our first leisure lounge that we ever did, Randall was the warm-up DJ. So you could get Goldie at 7 o'clock,
Cause you shit!
Eskimo Noise, Troy. One of the most on-point sound engineers ever, man. If there's ever one little thing wrong with the needle or the deck, he'd be straight over there. He was on it, you know what I mean? And he made sure that the sound wasn't too noisy, but it was pumping, it was clear, it was crisp, and that made a lot of it. The other thing about Blue Note as well, there wasn't like mad lasers and strobes and all that stuff going on. It was just really dark. You come in there and you could find your corner, and you could just get in your own little world, and that music that was being played could take you wherever you wanted to go.
We will never find another Blue Note.
On there, mate. I tell you, there was shagging, the toilets going on, there was all sorts going on.
There was all sorts going on.
No, sorry.
But it was an experience. Anyone you talk to around the world who experienced that will say it wasn't just a rave, it was a real experience going in there. Just because it was just different, and everybody's excited then. And we had a lot of flack. People said, we were elitist and all this kind of thing. You know what? We were only following something that we'd seen before, something called AWOL. They had 5 DJs, and that was it. You couldn't get in there for love or money. So we were just following something that worked.
There's tracks that got broken, do you know what I mean? Like,
The whole styles got broken, man.
Styles of tracks got broken. And I don't think it will ever happen again like that. So therefore, it has to have legendary status, because the timing, the social climate, all of these things were head-on collision.
Duncan Spirit played one of my tracks in Belgium. He played Patience last track. Goldie heard it, and then the first call I got was actually Spirit. He said to me that don't give the tune to no one, Goldie wants it. And I was like 3 o'clock in the morning, jumped out of bed, couldn't believe it, man. I couldn't get back to sleep that night. Blew me away, mate. It was like,
blew me away, twat. It also came at a time where people wasn't as dark as they used to be, and I think that really filled that kind of that gap for me.
And I was playing on the pirate station at the time, and I think Flux, who'd introduced me, told him that I was playing on the pirate station, I was tuning. Eventually I got a phone call from Storm saying, we heard your stuff, we're starting up this night, and blah blah blah, Blue Note sessions. So that's how, that's when I first got linked with Metalheadz, and I just met Goldie, from being a part of that really. But I seen Goldie way before that at bloody Paradise, jumping around on the scaffold in front of Randall, swinging, man, you know what I mean?
The first time I met Goldie was at, in my flat in Crouch Hill. He told my mate Chemistry that he was doing some photo shoot with her, which I think was apparently a lie, and he just wanted to take her for dinner. So he asked her up to this flat, and I took her to this place called Dorney Towers, and she said pick me up at 12. And then a couple of days later, this guy called Goldie came to the house and just came in and said, all right. And that was about it, the first time you went into the bedroom. Well, Goldie got me and Kemi a radio station 5 months after we got our decks, a morning show, so we had to get really good really quickly. We were under pressure.
I remember Jane being in the mix in the flats, and I remember I was playing 2 records, He played the two records. Because I was standing by the speaker, I thought I could hear the echo on the record, and I thought, it's going out, Jane. So I stuck my finger on the deck, and he just went completely out of time. He looked at me like, fucking kill you. Yeah, do you remember that?
It was 2786.
2786. And I pushed my finger in thinking, just give me a bit of DJ help. And I went, it just went completely out of time. I'm like, yeah, big up respects. Yeah, rewind it. It's another crossroads. It's where technology, being able to access the internet, having all the fucking geeks nation, everyone can sit at home and think they can dictate what the scene should be, shouldn't be like, or what's down and what's right and whatever else. And I think the hands-on organic growth of it has been taken away from me. I've had to work fucking damn hard about how to apply myself to the scene, and how to spend many fucking weeks trying to cut acetates and dub plates and do all this stuff. Now you can get, you can make a record and you can put it online and you can just download it. It's all cheap and cheerful. You have to kind of balance science with faith. You have to say, well, technically I can do this stuff, but I need to put my soul into it. And if there's one kid in 1,000 which is going to make a Heads type record, then I'll welcome that kid. You know what I mean? Because eventually it's got more longevity. That's what I believe.
Like Goldie said, the technology is so much more easy to access now. There's just millions of bedroom producers now, and I get to hear a lot of it. But a lot of them, there's only a small percentage that are willing to take the risk or try to do something different, you know what I mean? And do something from the soul rather than trying to make something to smash the dance floor, at the big raves and all that. Which is a shame, man, because that's how we got here, you know what I mean? It was different.
Where I thought people failed was that when you tried to mention crew, they didn't want to know that. They all thought they could just go and do it on their own. And it just crashed in the van.
I think we've lost a little bit of our community. We don't hook up with each other anymore like we used to. The only time we see each other is when we go to each other's clubs. Yeah, we did have kind of music houses, a very big community that everybody used to kind of meet at and kind of discuss these things you're going on about, but we don't get together now like that and knock our heads together. Everybody's CD orientated now, and you don't always have to go and I used to see everybody down at Music House, and trust me, a lot of politics was sorted down there.
The scene at the moment is very healthy in a lot of ways, in the sense there's a lot of different flavours and there's a lot of new producers coming through and there's a lot of good music coming through. Personally, I think in the future people could start thinking about tomorrow rather than today. Think about where the scene's going to go rather than thinking about how much money they're going to earn or paying a mortgage or whatever. That's how back in the day it was a hobby. People were doing it, coming out of experiment with different sounds rather than making tunes for money. You're watching Outrage on Drum Bass TV.
This is Bailey representing
This for you, Turkey. This is Goldie for Drum and Bass, or whatever it is.
This is DJ Storm representing Metalheadz on Drum and Bass Arena.
I had to just finish a major project, which was Cine Tempest, which is the film. It was something that was been bothering me for 12 years. And it's bothered me, and I've not been able to get anything fucking done for sleep or anything. I've been like, I've got to finish this project. So finally, I could put the baby to bed and then go, right, okay, the label, right, who's around? Let me go out again. Let me start DJing a bit more now. Let me see what's going on. So I'm ready for that now.
Goldie had mentioned there was going to be an MDZ05 album, and he said, he'd like me to do something for the album, and at the time I was working on that track, and I sent it to him, and he took it.
Getting Chris in there, keeping his ear to the floor. I'm out there listening to people and hearing stuff, and people, especially some of the artists started saying, look, this is a Metalheadz tune, you can't know whether it is, so get it to Goldie, because it's a Heads tune. It belongs there, and it has a home, and if we can work it, and it works well for the artist, I'm fine. If there's nothing worth putting out, I'm not going to put out shit. The quality's got to stay there, and I think a lot of artists drop their quality. I'm not going to mention those artists, but a lot of artists started making fucking music just to sell for the hood, or the shitters, or whatever they want to call them, whatever it is. Great, fantastic, if that's what you want to do. But I have a level of music that has to be made.
They're all good albums, do you know what I mean? I thought MDZ04 was exceptional because an album to me, if I can play every side of it in one set, then it's a good album. And the other thing about that is it's value for money because you can play every single track. And I think MDZ05 is in the same league, if not just slightly maybe better.
I actually like Scam. Digital, yeah, because it's just so different from everything else. You know what I mean? It's like, when I first heard it, I was like, no, I'm not in this, you know what I mean? But after a few listens, and when you get up in the mix, it's very out there, it's very different, man. So out of all of them, that's the one I would play the most, you know what I mean? And then you've got like Wastelands with Marcus Intellects, which is, you know, like I said, Metalheadz is not all about the hard stuff, you know. He does a nice little roller for us, it's really nice, you know. I do like that as well. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are scared to kind of do something different because they don't think it'll fit in, whereas Metalheadz can cater for that, you know, and something different, you know, whether you want to go all the way down tempo and make some broken beat or whatever, you know, I mean, if it's good and it's like something really different about it, you can go Metalheadz, you know.
Well, some guy told me the other week, oh, I had MTZ05, didn't really like it too much. I said, alright, then no worries. Played every single track that I played was Metalheadz off the album. What's this one? I said, yeah, you need to go home and listen a little bit more, you know what I mean? Once you hear it in the mix, but that's the difference of being a DJ than being just a person who listens, you know what I mean? I think a DJ instantly hears a track and works out where I can mix that and how I can mix that and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So that's the excitement for a DJ. But I think it stands the test of time, MTZ05. I think it's a wicked album.
Wicked album. Platinum for me was really taking off on the opposite tip of where Razors was, because I wanted another outlet for the people that have been Premiership for so long with the label. You know, people like Clue, Total Science have really fucking made the label, really. I mean, when you get something like Defcon 69, which completely crosses over the whole of the scene, that's a massive tune. You give me a tune that's going to sell 7,000-8,000 tunes. And that's where they met. Platinum's always been something that has to have the older players getting straight out there, because we have so many tunes now with the schedule. You probably know with the scene the way that it is, that it takes fucking ages for these tunes to come out. Now we're such a small market that we need to have another outlet. Project I've wanted to get off the ground for fucking years. My only thing is I have some beautiful stuff with Mutt, especially Mutt and D-Star. They're probably like the biggest players. And a guy called Spider, who's based in Argentina, who's now here. They really are great. If the track's completely outrageously outstanding globally, it's not like Metalheadz America's not the quality of. In fact, it's probably slightly more musical taste, which is what you may call liquid. You know what I mean? But it's not to be categorised, it's just where the artists are developing now, in the same way that when I look at the first styles of these things, I Want You, Alex Reese, it's the same reflection, but 10 years later.
Yeah, right.
Now, the biggest problem with American kids is that they can't afford a British import. So I'm trying to work out how do I get, and my biggest fight is how do I get the music to America to do that? And the only way you can do it is by free piracy, which I'm not down with, and, you know, giving it away. I don't need to give the music away. I mean, to make people go in and buy into the music, have a label to it. And the way of doing it with that is that they can appreciate the music, and they can feel a sense of pride of having a division of Metalheadz. It's always been hard in America with the way the distribution is, so we're working on that now at the moment. But I mean, I'm really happy to have, you know, Metalheadz America. My first screenplay, me and my partner Nick Giraldo spent the last 4 years doing that, and physically writing it, and it's taken a very, very long time, as films do. But most screenplays take 8 to 10 years to write, to actually get to the film. Most films that you look at, they're any good anyway. And I've managed to do it in half the time, so I've taken the timeless approach, you know what I mean, of how to kind of break something down fictionally and how to apply it to a film. And also what I did was, because I was so sick of the music, not sick of it, I just kind of felt I had to go and, I was bored of it, I had to go and do something else. So I did Sine Tempus, which was themes from the film for different scenes. And so I based my new album, which is called Sine Tempus, and it's also a film. So I've actually done the soundtrack and the movie and written it and producing it. So it's completely organic from the bottom to the top. And I think somewhere in there lies that music, you know what I mean, the background of everything. Because it needs to have that. And I think the music's always been represented by German washing machine commercials. It's never really stood up to, it's never really stood in its own thing as like being like, you know, drum and bass and music to be reckoned with. Because we only see the kind of, that other side of it. So I wanted to give it a background socially. What does the album sound like?
Fantastic.
I can't really say.
It is amazing. It is amazing. Goldie's back for sure.
I went deep on it.
For a second. Yeah. Sorry, but yeah, I do.
She only got it the other week. I was saying, Chance got one, my daughter got one. A friend of America, she got one. It's It's deep. I mean, it's not like Saturn's Return deep. It's not that inner struggle. It's really a kind of celebration of where I'm from, and I feel completely proud about it because it's full circle. It's like shit. Just when I thought that no one could do anything with this music, I kind of went, you know what? Fuck you all, man. This is what you should be doing. A lot more writing I did on this album as well. I wrote so much lyrically that I was just really happy with. Getting the film done and finished and done and made out there will open a lot of people's eyes across the board generally. And not only have that, to have my artist album in there, to have a label album in there, to have a score in there, and all three things I established within one movie, so that I can celebrate what I've done for the last 15 years. And finally, James, if you're honest, breaking this, James, I'm going to get a PhD next week. I'm honorably going to be a professor, a person who contributed to music, urban music over the last 20 years. I'll be Dr. Goldie Boffin.
Drum and Bass Mobile, the latest real music direct to your mobile phone. Get blinged up with Subfocus X-Ray Real Tone. Text Zinc 1 to 81330. Get Andy C on your mobile with a Screamer Real Tone. Text Zinc 2 to 81330. One for the old school heads. Champion Sound Remix. Text Zinc 3 to 81330. So remember, that's Zinc 1 for X-Ray, Zinc 2 for Screamer, and Zinc 3 for the Champion Sound Remix. Keep it real. Drum and Bass Arena has been at the head of the game for over 9 years. Breakbeat.co.uk brings the freshest dubs, the hottest releases, D&B TV broadcasts, news, charts, competitions and much more direct to your PC. Now we step up again, introducing our fully spec'd digital download service. Join the next wave of DJs flexing your skills in a digital format and get your high quality tunes from a high quality site. All the latest content and back catalogue from Ram, Bingo, Formation, True Players, Ganja and more is available. Download the past, the present, the future now!